Sneaky big news. The governor of the state of Oregon, Kate Brown, announced yesterday that large gatherings in the state, including sporting events, should be either canceled or significantly modified through September because of the pandemic. Oregon State and Oregon football would, of course, both be impacted by that. The Ducks have 3 home football games in September, including one against Ohio State. Now, the commissioner of the conference, the Pac-12, is Larry Scott. He told ESPN, quote, "I'm not necessarily surprised, but I guess my reaction is we're going to learn a lot more between now and September. So a statement someone makes in May about what's going to happen in September, it seems to me, is a very long ways away, and there's a lot more for everyone to learn between now and then." Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, I want you to hear what the Alabama athletic director, Greg Byrne, told Laura about the possibility of opening in the fall.
I don't think it's going to be realistic if the expectation is everybody has to start at the same time. What it looks like in New York, where there's a dense population, right, may be different than what it looks like here in Alabama or Nebraska or Texas, where it's more spread out. And each state, each region of the country has to do what they think is right for them and their situation. I think for the good of the overall enterprise of what sports is, there needs to be an openness to saying it may not all be at the exact same time.
Fascinating. So, Laura, that's your interview you did yesterday. And again, first we have a big football coach saying that the other day, and now here's the athletic director at maybe the most significant football program in the country coming out and saying that. What should we take from that?
I think what we take is that these are very real conversations that we kind of thought were happening and we've heard were happening, but now we know for sure they are happening. And even yesterday, Alabama's athletic director, Greg Byrne, was in a meeting with the Football Oversight Committee with Mark Emmert, the NCAA president. Many things were discussed, including these contingency plans, which may include seeing some states be able to return to these types of gatherings sooner than others. And it's like we continue to say, if you see a conference that has, let's say, 8 teams in their conference in certain states that are able to return to action, you may see them return to action and not have the other couple or maybe more states in the conference be able to play football and other fall sports. The other thing that I thought was really interesting in talking to Greg Byrne is they are planning right now to have football season basically as normal, starting on time in the fall with fans in the stands there at Bryant-Denny Stadium, over 100,000 fans at capacity there. They're planning for that to be what this looks like. And he even said right now on their campus, they have students there on campus because a lot of them actually live there and they've already returned back. These are not student athletes, but just as it relates to the conversation around having students and maybe not having athletes there or either or, this is all something that's going to continue to develop. And I'll reiterate once more that through all of this, they all keep saying from the college football and college sports in the fall side of things that they have time on their side. He also pointed out that toward the end of May, early June is still that timeline for making decisions about the summer and then, of course, the fall.
All right, so there are 11 different states in the SEC. There are 11 different states represented, Bobby, in your conference in the Big Ten. You're there in Columbus, obviously, you played at Ohio State. You do the talk show there. What do you think of this idea, again, that it sounds like here are big voices saying, hey, if we can play, we're going to play. And the schools who can't, then they're not going to.
Yeah, I think it started with James Franklin when he talked about this earlier this week, how he basically echoed the same thing where, you know, if you can play and you're in our conference, we're going to try to move on with or without you. And it's kind of the sad reality. You wish that wasn't the case because you'd like to see everybody sit there and move together. But these conference commissioners, they're trying to balance, you know, making some schools happy while maybe some schools, other schools are upset. And, you know, I feel for Larry Scott in the Pac-12. He's trying to keep pace, you know, with the Big Ten and obviously Greg Sankey down at the SEC because everyone down there seems to be gung-ho moving it forward. And then you have the Oregon governor coming out saying, well, you know, we probably won't have football with fans in the fall. Coincidentally, Oregon, their big non-conference game is probably one of the biggest in the country when Ohio State goes there in September. And so if there's no fans in the stands, you lose your home field advantage for some of these big non-conference games should they occur.
John Vilma, we haven't had a chance to chat with you since all of this started going. You played for one of the legendary college football programs of all time, and you cover the sport for us. What are your thoughts on the idea that we could get to a place where there are some schools playing and some that can't, even within the same conference?
Well, the first thing we have to recognize is that we're talking about student athletes, and this is not the NFL or the NBA. So if the schools are open, then yes, the school athletes, the student athletes should be able to play. So that's the first thing when Alabama, the AD talks about, having football games and preparing for it. It's because the universities are preparing to open school on time. And if you have the students in there, then the student athletes should be able to do what they got their scholarship for. So I don't have any issues with anything that the AD is talking about, because I understand that it's coming from a thoughtful perspective where the school and the athletes, the athletic department, are speaking together. If they do that and the schools are open, then yes, they should play and they should prepare. Not every state is the same as New York and the Northeast. So if you can play and you're available, then go ahead.
Very quickly, John, because we haven't had a chance to ask you this question. That's in the event that the schools are open. There were also conversations about maybe the regular students, if you will, aren't on campus, but the football team would still try to play. Would you be okay with that?
I would be okay with that. I look at the seniors that have prepared for their final year. I'm okay with that. No problems at all.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.